the ashes of silence. The colony of Haven 4 floated in the quiet edges of known space, a small world filled with farmers, miners, and children who believed they were safe. The stars above had always been gentle to them. Trade ships came once every few months, and the people lived simple lives under the blue-white glow of their sun. To them, war was something far away, spoken only in stories, but safety was only an illusion. On a cold evening, just as the horizon turned red, the sky above Haven 4 split open with unnatural light. Giant alien warships, black and sharp like blades, dropped from faster-than-light travel. Their hulls glimmered with symbols no human could read. No warning came, no message, only silence before the storm. In the colony's main square, children stopped their games, pointing upward as shadows swallowed the sunlight. Farmers froze in their fields. Mothers pulled their children inside. At first, many thought it was a military exercise from Earth, but the truth arrived in a roar of fire. The first beam tore across the atmosphere. It burned through the colony's defense grid in seconds, melting steel and soil alike. Towers collapsed. Homes turned into firestorms. Panic spread faster than the flames. "Run!" someone screamed, though there was nowhere to run. Inside the colony's control hub, a handful of officers fought desperately. Commander Hale, his face pale with disbelief, shouted at his crew, "Send the distress signal. Now get it past the jammers." "Yes, sir," a young technician answered, hands shaking as she pressed controls. Static filled the room, then cleared for a moment. A single signal, raw and desperate, raced through the void of space. "This is Haven 4. We are under attack. Aliens, unknown. Please, someone, help us." The message cut off with a scream as the building collapsed in fire. Above the colony, the alien warships moved with cold precision. Smaller craft descended, releasing swarms of machines that swept across streets, tearing apart anything alive. Survivors who tried to resist with rifles were erased in flashes of light. No army, no fleet, just families and farmers, slaughtered in moments. By nightfall, Haven 4 was no more. Smoke rose into the sky. The ground burned hot like open wounds. Silence followed, heavier than any storm. Far away, deep in Terran space, the distress signal finally reached the relay stations. Operators stared in horror as the fragmented message repeated again and again. Most of the words were broken, but the fear in the voices was clear. Entire families begging for help that never came. News traveled quickly. Across human colonies, across star stations, whispers began. Haven 4 is gone. Everyone dead. Aliens destroyed them. In the Terran High Command, the message was played in the War Council chamber. The room fell into silence as the final scream echoed through the speakers. Generals, admirals, and leaders of Earth sat frozen. Admiral Rourke's hands trembled as he turned off the recording. He had fought in wars before, but nothing compared to the helplessness in that voice. "They erased an entire colony," he said quietly, his eyes narrowing. "Men, women, children. They didn't even give a reason." The council chamber filled with tense voices. Some wanted to wait, to confirm the attacker's identity. Others demanded immediate war. But everyone felt the same burning truth. Something had awakened inside humanity, something the galaxy had hoped would never rise again. On the colonies nearest to Haven 4, families held vigils under the stars, lighting candles for those who would never return. Soldiers on distant stations sharpened their blades and prepared their weapons without orders. Even ordinary workers, miners, and pilots spoke with the same anger. "They think we are weak. They think we will stay quiet. But we will answer." For centuries, humans had been underestimated. Other species saw them as newcomers to the stars, too divided, too fragile, too emotional to matter. But Haven 4's ashes had planted a seed of fury in every human heart. The galaxy did not yet know, but the silence of Haven 4 was only the beginning, because humanity had heard the scream of its colony, and humanity would answer. The fire awakens the nine. Signal from Haven 4 did not vanish into silence. It spread like fire through the human colonies, repeated on every channel, every relay, every civilian frequency. At first, there was disbelief. Then came grief. And finally, rage. On Earth, crowds filled the streets in mourning. Families held signs with the names of their relatives who had lived on Haven 4. In the colonies, miners raised their fists and demanded war. Farmers spoke of sending their sons and daughters to the fleet. The message was clear. Humanity would not remain silent. Inside the Terran High Command, the War Council sat in their hidden fortress orbiting Titan. The chamber was dark, lit only by the blue glow of a holographic map showing human and alien systems. The destruction of Haven 4 was marked as a burning red wound on the map. Admiral Rourke stood at the center, his voice like iron. They thought they erased a small colony, he said, staring at the faces of generals and leaders around the table. But what they truly did was awaken the fire in all of us. They want war? Then war they shall have. Some council members hesitated. General Yara, cautious and calculating, raised her hand. We cannot act blindly, she warned. We don't yet know who these attackers are. We don't know the size of their fleets. To strike too quickly may bring the entire galaxy against us. But others slammed their fists in fury. Are we to wait while they erase another world? One shouted. Peace is already dead, another said coldly. The room filled with shouts, but Admiral Rourke silenced them with a single command. Bring it online. Project Nemesis. The words struck the chamber like thunder. For decades, Project Nemesis had been nothing more than a rumor. Whispered in the fleet, denied by politicians, hidden even from most commanders. It was said to be a shadow fleet. Ships, larger, faster, and deadlier than anything officially built by the Terran Navy. War machines designed in secret, stored in hidden shipyards, waiting for the day humanity needed them. Now, that day had come. Far beyond the borders of mapped space, in asteroid fields and under frozen moons, secret doors opened. Massive hangars released their shadows. Titans of steel, kilometers long, lit up their engines for the first time. Their hulls glowed with strange alloys that could bend light and hide from sensors. Rail cannons the size of city blocks turned outward, hungry for war. In the darkness of space, humanity's answer awakened. At the same time, hidden factories deep within Earth's crust began to roar. Automated forges poured molten metal into molds the size of mountains. Orbital shipyards suddenly came alive with activity, docking rings glowing as if a second sun had risen. Entire industries shifted overnight, moving from civilian goods to weapons of war. The ordinary people knew what was happening. In mining colonies, workers volunteered to deliver rare metals to shipyards without payment. In farming worlds, families packed food for soldiers they had never met. In the academies, thousands of new cadets signed their names ready to fight. And still in the shadows, whispers spread. The Nemesis fleet is real. In one hidden shipyard, Captain Elias Kane walked across the bridge of the supercarrier. Iron Vow. Its decks were still unfinished, but the ship itself radiated power. The crew looked at him with both awe and fear. Sir, one young officer asked, are we truly going to war? Captain Kane looked at the void beyond the viewport, where dozens of other supercarriers slowly powered up. He remembered the screams of Haven 4. He remembered the silence after. His jaw tightened. No, he said. We are not going to war. We are going to end it. Meanwhile, messages from alien systems began to trickle in. Some claimed they had no part in Haven 4's destruction. Others mocked humanity, saying they were too small, too fragile to fight the galaxy. But there were no apologies, no promises of peace, only arrogance. That arrogance would cost them everything. Back on Titan, Admiral Rourke prepared his final order. The fleet was not ready yet, but he knew the time for speeches and warnings was gone. Humanity had waited too long already. Signal every colony, he commanded. Tell them the fire has awakened. Tell them the Terran fleet rises. And tell them this. He paused, his voice dark with steel. No mercy. Across the stars, screens lit up with the message. Civilians wept in pride. Soldiers saluted. For the first time in centuries, every human world spoke with one voice. The galaxy had thought humanity would beg. Instead, they promised firepower, beyond imagination. And deep in the black of space, the Nemesis fleet waited to be unleashed. The War Council. The chamber of the Terran War Council was unlike any other place in the galaxy. Built deep inside a fortress station that orbited Titan, its walls were thick enough to survive a direct strike from a battleship. Around the great round table sat humanity's most powerful leaders, admirals, generals, scientists, and the heads of every major colony. The air was heavy with silence. On the center of the table, a holographic projection showed the red-marked ashes of Haven 4. The colony no longer existed. Only its memory burned into the map. Admiral Rourke stood tall at the head of the table. His face was carved with fury, his voice like thunder. They erased a human world. Men, women, and children, gone, he said. Now the galaxy waits to see if we will cry or fight. I tell you now, we will fight. Some council members nodded, pounding their fists on the table, but others looked uneasy. General Yara, cautious as always, spoke first. We don't even know which alien empire is responsible. What if we strike the wrong one? What if the entire Galactic Council unites against us? Let them, snarled Admiral Rourke. Let them come. For too long we have been treated as weak. For too long they mocked us. Haven 4 will be their lesson. Across the table, Dr. Marin, head of the Terran Science Division, raised his voice. Admiral, our technology is strong, but it is not limitless. The Nemesis fleet is powerful, yes, but to unleash it means revealing every secret we have kept hidden for decades. There will be no going back. Rourke's eyes burned. Exactly. There will be no going back. The time for hiding is over. The room grew louder as voices clashed. Some wanted diplomacy, others demanded vengeance. Fear of galactic war fought against the fury of human pride. For long minutes the chamber shook with arguments, and then the voice of Elder Maya, representative of Earth itself, cut through the chaos. She was old, her hair silver, her voice soft yet commanding. When I was a child, she said, I heard stories of Earth's darkest wars. I was told we had learned that humanity had put violence behind us, but Haven 4 proves the galaxy has not changed. They will never respect us until we show them why they should fear us. The chamber fell silent. Admiral. Rourke leaned forward. His words were low, but every person heard them clearly. No treaties. No negotiations. We strike first. We strike hard. And we do not stop until every empire in this galaxy understands one truth. Never erase a human colony again. A murmur spread through the chamber. Even those who feared war could not deny the fire burning in every human heart. The decision was made. Rourke gestured, and the holographic map shifted. Systems lit up in red, marking supply lines, shipyards, and alien patrol routes. Our first strike will not be random, he explained. We will target their fleets near the borders. We will crush them so completely the galaxy will see our power in one single blow. General Yara frowned. And what of the Council's laws if we attack without proof? Proof, Rourke snapped. The ashes of Haven 4 are proof enough. At that moment, an officer entered the chamber carrying a sealed case. The council members fell silent as the case was opened. Inside was a black command key, glowing with red light. The Nemesis key. With this key, the hidden supercarriers of the Nemesis fleet could be unleashed. Ships the size of cities, armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Rourke placed the key on the table. His hand lingered on it as though it carried the weight of all humanity. This is our answer, he said. We do not beg. We do not ask for forgiveness. We burn. One by one, the council members stood. Some with grim faces, some with fire in their eyes. But all stood united. The War Council had spoken. Orders were sent out across the stars. War factories doubled their output. Pilots were recalled from leave. Colonies braced for conflict. The Terran war machine roared to life. In the shadows of space, alien spies carried reports back to their masters. They had expected fear. Instead, they found fury. And far beyond the stars, alien commanders began to whisper in dread. Humans have awakened. They were right. The War Council had given its answer, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first strike. The alien patrol near the ruins of Haven 4 believed they were safe. Their fleet of 30 warships drifted above the blackened planet, scanning the silence below. To them, humanity was finished. Too slow, too weak, too divided to fight back. Captain Varan, commander of the alien fleet, sat in his chair with pride, his claws tapped against the armrest. "The humans will stay quiet," he said to his officers. "They always do. They weep, they beg, but they never bite." He was wrong. In the darkness beyond the system, something moved. Sensors on the alien. Ships blinked with confusion. Their computers screamed warnings, unidentified signatures approaching fast. At first, the aliens thought it was a mistake, but then the stars themselves seemed to vanish, blotted out by massive shadows. The Nemesis fleet had arrived. Out of the void came the Iron Vow, followed by 2 supercarriers and a dozen dreadnoughts. Their hulls glowed with blue fire as engines flared. Rail cannons the size of mountains turned toward the alien ships. On the bridge of the Iron Vow, Captain Elias Kane gave a simple order: open fire. The silence of space shattered. The first railgun blast ripped across the void like a spear of lightning. It tore straight through an alien cruiser, splitting it in half. Before the wreckage even cooled, more shots followed. Alien shields cracked, like glass. Entire ships vanished in burning explosions. Panic spread through the alien fleet. Officers shouted, their voices shaking. "What are those weapons?" "They're tearing through our armor." "This is impossible." The humans did not stop. Torpedoes streaked through the darkness, striking alien vessels one by one. Dreadnoughts unleashed dark matter warheads, collapsing shields and ripping ships apart. Smaller Terran escorts darted between enemy formations, firing precision shots that crippled engines and reactors. In less than 5 minutes, 10 alien ships were gone. On the alien flagship, Captain Varan's pride turned to terror. "All ships, return fire. Destroy them." Beams of alien plasma cut across space, striking human warships, but their armor held. The Nemesis fleet had been built for this very moment. Their shields absorbed the blasts, their hulls shrugged off damage. Where other fleets would have broken, humanity advanced. The Iron Vow cut straight through the enemy formation like a blade. Its broadside guns fired in unison, unleashing storms of metal that tore alien ships apart. Kane stood on the bridge, calm and cold, as the enemy screamed. "Target their flagship," he ordered. Every gun turned. Rail rounds slammed into the alien command ship, one after another, until its hull cracked and its core exploded in a burst of white fire. Varan's fleet had no leader anymore. The battle was over before it truly began. Of 30 alien ships, only 5 managed to flee, engines burning as they retreated into faster-than-light space. Behind them, wreckage drifted silently, the graveyard of their arrogance. The Terran fleet did not chase. They let the survivors escape, carrying a message the galaxy would not forget. Humanity fights back. On the bridge of the Iron Vow, Kane looked. At the battlefield, his crew cheered, some with tears in their eyes. The pain of Haven 4 had been answered, but Kane's expression remained hard. "This was only the beginning," he said quietly. "The galaxy will come for us now." Back on Earth, the news spread faster than light. Broadcasts replayed the battle from ship cameras. Alien fleets burning, Terran guns firing. The Nemesis fleet revealed to the stars. Across human colonies, people roared with pride. Farmers, miners, children, every heart beat with the same fire. In Bayindias, alien capitals, the reaction was fear. Council chambers filled with frantic voices. How did humans build such ships in secret? How many more do they have? Some empires considered alliances. Others prepared their own weapons. But one truth was undeniable. Humanity was no longer prey. The first strike had changed everything. On Titan, Admiral Rourke received Kane's report. He listened to the details in silence, then nodded once. "Good," he said. "Let them run. Let them scream. The more they fear us, the stronger we become." Outside the fortress, entire fleets prepared to launch. The Nemesis fleet was only the spearhead. Behind it, more carriers and dreadnoughts were rising from their hidden shipyards, each one forged for vengeance. The galaxy had mocked humanity. Now the galaxy would burn. And somewhere in the darkness, the next target waited. The war beyond stars. The first strike at Haven 4's ruins had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. In less than an hour, humanity had destroyed an entire alien fleet and forced survivors to run like frightened prey. The news spread like wildfire. Every empire, every council, every ruler heard the same message. The Terrans had awakened. But humanity was not finished. From hidden shipyards, the Nemesis fleet continued to grow. Supercarriers rolled out of orbital docks, their hulls black as midnight, bristling with weapons that no one outside Earth had ever seen. Entire worlds turned into factories, producing torpedoes, rail slugs, and engines day and night. And now, the Terran High Command had chosen their next step. They would not wait for the enemy to come. They would carry the war into alien territory. Admiral Rourke stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Wrath. His eyes were fixed on the holographic map glowing before him. Red markers covered the borders of the alien empire responsible for Haven 4, patrol routes, supply lines, colonies, all charted with precision. "Strike deep," Rourke ordered. Not just fleets, not just soldiers, hit their heart, burned their pride. The order spread like lightning. Across the stars, Terran warships jumped into enemy space. Dreadnoughts struck patrol fleets, ripping them apart before they could even send warnings. Escort ships raided supply convoys, seizing resources and leaving burning wrecks behind. For the first time in history, alien colonies saw Terran warships descending through their skies. Railguns pounded defenses, orbital lances turned fortresses into ash, and armored dropships landed Terran Marines in the streets. The galaxy had expected humanity to defend. Instead, humanity invaded. On one alien border world, Governor Thesk watched in terror as the horizon lit up with fire. Human soldiers marched through smoke, their rifles spitting light. They moved with discipline, faces hidden behind dark visors. To the aliens, they looked less like men and more like demons. "Mercy!" Thesk cried, throwing himself on the ground before the advancing Marines. But the humans gave no reply. They secured the colony, freed the slaves they found in the mines, and left the rest in silence. To the galaxy, this was even more frightening than destruction. Humanity was not here to conquer. They were here to punish. Back in the halls of the Galactic Council, panic spread. Ambassadors shouted over one another. If they continue, they will destabilize the entire region. They cannot be allowed to act unchecked. Someone must stop them before they ignite a galactic war. But none volunteered to stand against the Terrans, not after seeing what one fleet had done at Haven 4's grave. Meanwhile, Terran commanders unveiled new weapons never before seen. Orbital lances, giant beams that cut through entire cities in seconds, dark matter torpedoes that collapsed shields like paper, and whispering drones that hacked into alien systems, feeding false orders to their fleets. Every battle ended the same way. Alien fleets broken, colonies silenced, humanity standing victorious. On the bridge of the Iron Vow, Captain Kane spoke to his crew after another battle won. The stars outside still glowed with the burning wreckage of enemy ships. "They said we were weak," Kane said, his voice echoing. "They said we would never fight. But look at us now. We do not fight for glory, we do not fight for conquest. We fight for Haven 4, and we will not stop until every alien ruler remembers its name." The crew roared with pride, but Kane's words carried a shadow, because with every victory, the galaxy's fear grew. On distant worlds, alien children cried when they heard the name Terran. Soldiers refused to face human fleets, deserting before battles began. Commanders prayed to gods they no longer believed in. In secret, alien rulers began sending envoys to Earth, offering truce, offering tribute, offering silence, anything to make the Terrans stop. But humanity did not stop. Admiral Rourke gave his answer with a single sentence: not until their throne burns. And so the Terran fleets pushed deeper, past borders, past defenses, toward the very capital of the alien empire. The war had moved beyond stars. The galaxy had laughed at humanity once. Now, it whispered in fear. Because in the ashes of Haven 4, a fire had been born, and that fire was spreading without end. The burning throne. The alien empire's capital system had never known fear. For thousands of years, its fleets guarded every approach. Its fortresses circled the throne world like a crown of steel. Generations of rulers had believed their world untouchable, their throne eternal. But that belief ended the day the Terran fleet arrived. From the black void, shadows appeared. Supercarriers so vast they blocked the light of suns. Dreadnoughts with rail cannons glowing red-hot. Escort ships moving like hunters through the dark. The Nemesis fleet had come, and with it came the promise of vengeance. On the capital's defense station, alarms screamed. Alien officers shouted as their scanners filled with impossible readings. "There are too many of them," one cried. "Impossible? Humanity cannot have built this," another shouted. Yet there it was, stretching across the void, a wall of firepower beyond imagination. Admiral Rourke stood on the bridge of the eternal wrath, his eyes locked on the alien throne world. The great capital shone below, its oceans and cities glittering like jewels. But to him it was nothing more than the heart of the enemy that erased Haven 4. "Begin the assault," he said coldly. The order raced through the fleet. The first strike came from orbit. Lances of pure energy fell from the sky, burning through the shields that had protected the throne world for centuries. Defense platforms exploded one by one. The sky above the capital turned into fire. Alien fleets surged forward, desperate to protect their home. Thousands of ships, from war frigates to massive battle cruisers, rushed to meet the humans. The void erupted into chaos, but humanity did not falter. The Iron Vow led the charge, railguns firing with thunder. Alien cruisers shattered under the storm, their wreckage scattering like broken glass. Dark matter torpedoes ripped through the enemy lines, collapsing shields, tearing apart cores. The battle became a slaughter. For every Terran ship destroyed, 10 alien vessels burned. The Nemesis fleet cut through their defenders like a blade through water. On the throne world itself, panic reigned. The rulers gathered in their shining palace, their voices filled with fear. "They cannot breach our walls," one declared. "They already have," another whispered, pointing at the skies filled with fire. The sound of explosions shook the ground. Entire cities burned as orbital bombardments rained down. Towers fell. Streets split open. The once proud capital screamed, under the fury of humanity. Back in orbit, Captain Kane watched as the alien lines collapsed. His crew stared in awe. They had dreamed of vengeance, but the reality was beyond belief. "Sir," an officer said, "the throne's main defense fleet is falling back." Kane's voice was steady, cold. "No mercy. Push forward." The Terran ships advanced. The Eternal Wrath unleashed its broadside, blasting apart a massive alien battleship in one strike. Around it, the Terran carriers launched swarms of drones, each one striking with the precision of a blade. Within hours, the alien fleet was gone. Only wreckage remained, drifting like broken bones around their world. Now the throne itself lay exposed. Admiral Rourke raised his hand. "Target the palace. End this." The Iron Vow and Eternal Wrath turned their cannons downward. Energy built. Within their cores, glowing brighter and brighter until the void itself seemed to tremble. On the palace steps, the alien emperor watched the sky blaze. For the first time in his reign, he felt true fear. His throne, his empire, his legacy, all about to be erased by the fury of humanity. The weapons fired. Lances of destruction struck the palace, tearing through walls, shattering towers, and burning the throne into ash. The Emperor's scream was lost in the roar of fire. From orbit, the Terran crews watched as the capital world fell into silence. Cities still burned, oceans boiled, and smoke rose to the heavens. The throne had been reduced to rubble. Admiral Rourke looked at the burning world below. His voice was quiet yet heavy with finality. Haven 4 has been avenged. But his eyes did not soften. He knew this was only one empire, one throne. The galaxy was vast, and others were watching. Captain Kane stood at his side. "What now, Admiral?" Rourke's answer was cold, simple, and certain. "Now," he said, "the galaxy learns what it means to erase a human colony." Behind him, the Nemesis fleet prepared to move again. Engines burned, weapons reloaded, and new targets glowed red on the map. The burning throne was only the beginning, the price of vengeance. The throne world burned for days. Its oceans boiled, its cities lay in ruins, and the once proud empire that had erased Haven 4 was no more. Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humanity had risen, and nothing would ever be the same again. But victory came with a cost. On the Iron Vow, Captain Kane walked through the silent corridors of the medical bay. Rows of beds were filled, with wounded soldiers, their faces pale, some missing limbs, others wrapped in bandages. Nurses moved quickly, whispering encouragement, but the pain in the air was heavy. Kane stopped beside one bed where a young cadet clutched a burned arm. The cadet looked up with tired eyes. "Did we win, sir?" he asked weakly. Kane hesitated for only a moment before answering. "Yes," he said softly. "We won." The cadet smiled faintly before drifting back into sleep. Kane stood there longer, his chest tight. They had won, yes, but at what price? Reports spread through the fleet. Entire Terran warships had been lost in the assault. Thousands of men and women who had sworn vengeance never returned. Their names would be carved into walls of memory on Earth and the colonies. Families would weep for generations. On the Eternal, Wrath Admiral Rourke read the casualty lists in silence, his jaw clenched, his hand trembling slightly as line after line of names filled the screen. Officers waited for him to speak, but he said nothing for a long time. Finally, he closed the report and stared out at the burning capital world below. "They will remember this day," he said at last, "but so will we." Across human space, celebrations erupted. Colonies lit fires in the skies, ringing bells and chanting the name of Haven 4. Families cheered the return of their defenders, while statues were raised in memory of the lost. Humanity had never been so united, never so proud. Yet beneath the pride, there was unease. Other empires watched in fear. Some sent envoys begging for treaties. Others plotted in secret, whispering that humanity's rise must be stopped before it consumed them all. In the dark halls of alien councils, new alliances were already forming. Back on Earth, Elder Maya addressed the people from the steps of the Terran Assembly. Her voice was steady, but her eyes held sorrow. "We have shown the galaxy our strength," she declared. "We have avenged the fallen. But vengeance is never free. The blood of our sons and daughters has written this victory. Let us never forget Haven 4. And let us never forget those who gave everything so that humanity could rise." Her words were carried to every colony, every fleet, every home. For some, they brought comfort. For others, they brought only silence. In the council chambers, debates began again. Should humanity stop now? Or should it continue its war until no empire dared oppose them? Some argued for peace. Others demanded more fire, more conquest. The scars of Haven 4 still burned too deeply to heal on the bridge of the Iron Vow. Kane stood with his crew, staring into the endless stars. The war was not truly over. It had only changed shape. The galaxy would never again see humanity as weak. But now, they would see them as something even more dangerous. "Sir," an officer said quietly, "new orders from High Command. We are to regroup